I've heard some wild cheating stories in my life, but this one sat in the shadows for 25 years before anyone found out. My friend's uncle, we'll call him David, was the kind of man people held up as an example. The rock of his community, the guy you'd call if your car broke down in the rain. He was the king of the summer barbecue, a volunteer at the local school, and the kind of dad who actually liked going to parent-teacher night. He'd been married to his high school sweetheart, Laura, for a quarter of a century. They were couple, the ones who still held hands and built a life that looked like a postcard from the American dream. They had 3 kids, 2 in college, 1 still in high school. From the outside looking in, it was the kind of marriage people didn't just envy, they aspired to it. But you know how people say nobody really knows what happens behind closed doors? Well, in this case, those doors were hiding a secret no one could have imagined. It started with one tiny moment. Laura was tidying up after dinner when she heard a buzz from the kitchen counter. David's phone, left behind, lit up. A notification glowed on the screen, a name she didn't recognize, Mark, and beneath it a message that made her breath catch. "I miss you already." She stared at it, her mind racing. Mark. She mentally scrolled through their friends, David's colleagues, his golf buddies. The name meant nothing. Her first thought was innocent. Maybe it's a new co-worker. But the curiosity, a cold knot of dread, wouldn't leave her alone. Her fingers trembled as she opened the conversation. What she saw was a long thread, stretching back months. Messages about trips to cities David had supposedly visited for work conferences, inside jokes that felt painfully intimate. And then her heart stopped. A photo of David beaming with his arm around another man at a hotel bar. But here's the thing, the man in the photo wasn't her husband's buddy from work, it was someone she'd never met. And then it hit her. This wasn't an old friend, this wasn't business. David was having an affair, and it wasn't with a woman. The shock hit her so hard she couldn't speak. When she confronted him later that night, she expected him to deny it, to come up with some excuse. But instead, he sat down, put his head in his hands, and said, "I can't keep living like this." That's when the full story came out. For years, decades, David had been hiding who he really was. He'd fallen in love with Mark long before the kids were even born. But back then he felt trapped by his conservative upbringing, by what people in their small town would think, by the immense pressure to be the perfect husband. So he buried it. He married Laura. He tried to convince himself that the life he'd built was enough, but the secret never went away. And the longer he kept it, the heavier it became, until it finally broke through. At 50 years old, with 3 kids and 25 years of marriage behind him, David came out as gay. He moved out within a month. Mark was waiting. Now, here's where the story gets even more complicated. The kids were split, their reactions a messy collage of grief and confusion. The eldest, already in college, said, "I just wish you'd told us sooner so you didn't have to suffer alone." But the middle one felt utterly betrayed. He started questioning everything. That family trip to the Grand Canyon, were you thinking of him then? Was any of it real? And the youngest, still in high school, just shut down. He didn't speak to his father for almost 2 years, a wall of silent anger between them. And Laura? She was adrift. She went through every textbook stage of grief. Denial was a fog she lived in for weeks. Anger was a fire, lashing out at the man she thought she knew. Bargaining was the most painful part, pleading with him, "Can't we just go back?" Then came the deep depression, the feeling that her life was a fraud. It took a long, long time before she finally reached a fragile kind of acceptance. And even now, years later, she still says the hardest part wasn't that he was gay. It was that he'd kept it from her for 25 years. Some people hear this story and say David was selfish. Others say he was brave for finally living his truth. But for everyone involved, it's a reminder of just how much damage secrets can do, because sometimes the truth doesn't destroy a family. The years of hiding it do. So I want to know, if you were in David's shoes, would you have kept the secret to protect the family? Or told the truth no matter the cost? Drop your thoughts below, because the next story in this series, let's just say it makes this one look simple.